Morning, folks. Welcome back to Built for Jeeping. Sorry I didn't get a video out last week, but you know what? Life got in the way. So, it is what it is. Had a busy week, not only for work, had busy stuff around the house, and I am dealing with the worst sciatic pain I have ever felt in my life, but that's going to get taken care of eventually. Doesn't stop me though. Still got to do the things. Today, we're not working on the vehicles. I did something that I told you I was going to do, and I got it in. So now we're going to go through and unbox. We're going to go through, tell the process of what we'll do to prepare. And then the next video that I will post doing this work will be of getting it done. So let's take a look at what we got here. What in the world might this be? Came on a pallet. That might give a clue. I think we should open it. What do you think? Yeah, let's do that. The plastic wrap is removed now, so we can see what it is. It is my suspension system. Zone Off-Road Products. 3-inch lift for the 1996 Cherokee I drive. I also got Spicer ball joints, new bump stops, front and rear. So this is going to get my Jeep set up with a good system that's no longer broken, because something's broken in it. I don't know what it is yet, but something's broken. I know the ball joints are bad, and I'll show you why here shortly. So let's open up these boxes. Let's see what all the parts are, write them down, and start getting things prepared to do this lift. All right, so now we're at the table. I have the 2 boxes and the leaf spring packs, okay? Now let's first talk about the components of this lift. It comes with your shocks, it comes with your front coil springs, and it comes with your leaf springs. It doesn't sound like a whole lot, but it's got everything you need to put all of those items on, okay? That's why I bought my bump stops separately, because they do not come with this kit. That being said, when you do a lift, you need to have extended bump stops. That way you can protect your systems. One of the biggest things that nobody really thinks about is the bump stops. And what happens when we're driving down the road and you hit a big bump? Your suspension compresses. Well, if you all of a sudden have this lift, you think, ooh, I can get bigger tires. Stuff those tires into that space. Well, now you've lifted the space in between the bump stops, and your tires are now closing up that space. So an extended bump stop is there to prevent your tires from going into your fender wells and possibly damaging the body panels of your vehicle. Bump stops are important, so that's why you get them. Mine, they're non-existent. The bump stops in the back rusted off, and the bump stops in the front, who knows, they're just gone. So I got some that are Delrin, they're gonna be long lasting, and boom, they're good to go. So for the Cherokee, I think the rear ones are actually called axle snubbers. It's a weird name, didn't choose it, but there you go. So first things first, the leaf spring packs. You have a front eye and a rear eye. The front eye mounts onto the framing of the vehicle. The rear eye goes to a leaf spring shackle. At the back of the vehicle allows everything to flex. These dudes are heavy. If you've never picked up a set of leaf springs before, be prepared. It's got a little weight to it, but that means a good thing. They're stout. If you pick up a leaf spring pack and it's brand new and it's a lot lighter than what you had before, and it's a lift kit, you might want to worry a little bit. Now, a lot of people say, oh, leaf springs are not very flexy. They can be flexy if they are built correctly. So don't let somebody say that leaf springs don't flex well. I rode in an awesome Toyota. It was a Tacoma, and this dude was on leaf springs, and that thing flexed like nobody's business. He had dual transfer cases, put it down to a 1-to-1 ratio. He put it in first gear, put it in low, and then put it in low. and he just let off the gas pedal and off the brake, and it just crawled up everything. It was awesome. Oh, and it ran off of propane. Maybe you're watching. I don't know if you subscribe yet, but that vehicle is awesome. So, we know about the leaf spring packs. Let's see what's in these boxes here. They all are hefty boxes. They have a lot of weight to them. But also, another little tidbit about Zone Off-Road. They're made here in the great US of A. All of it. These are my shocks. Well, where do you open it? I got it. They come with stickers. I'm not going to put the stickers on. I appreciate the lift kit, and I appreciate the quality that everything is built to, but I don't like stickers on my vehiculars. So, no stickers. Now, these are the basic nitro shocks, okay? They are monotube built, I think. I can't remember for sure. I'll put the link to the lift kit down at the bottom so you can check it out yourself if you're wanting to look at it for your vehicle. But these are basically a stock shock, just extended for the lift kit, okay? I went with that for two reasons. One, cost. I didn't want to spend the extra money for the Fox shocks that they provide. They were quite a bit more expensive. And two, I'm not taking this off-road that much. So the little bit that I do take it off-road, these will work just fine. This is my daily driver vehicle, so I'm not going to be driving it a whole lot off-road. Now the stickers, I'll put them on my workbench. I got lots of stickers on my workbench. So that's the shocks. You have a front and a rear. They are designed differently, so they can only go on one way. This one, I don't know if you noticed or not. Let me pull it back out. I'll show you. These are bar pins, okay? It goes down at the bottom, you screw it in. That's how the whole thing is secured. This is a screw top. This one, I do believe, is the front, because it's going to push up through, and then you tighten down the screw on top of here and hold on to it, get it to the torque settings that you need. You don't want to over tighten these, and don't use impacts. All of a sudden you'll spin this and you can damage the whole cylinder, okay? Hand tools with this part. I don't need to put it back in the bag. Why didn't y'all just tell me? Hey, you don't need to put it back in the bag. Sticker. That means I'm going to have 4 stickers for 4 different parts, if not more, because who knows what's in that box yet. Actually, I kind of have an idea what's in that box. All right, that's all shocks. Easy. I'm gonna guess that one's springs. And all of the other hardware. All right, first things first. Do you know what these are? They're U-bolts. You can tell because they're shaped like a U. U-bolts. Now, when you order the kit, if you're doing it on a 1996 or any year Jeep Cherokee, make sure you pay attention to what axle you have, because these are different for the axles. You have the Chrysler 8.25 or 8 1/4. That's what my Cherokee has. You also have the Dana 35. The Dana 35 is a little bit smaller, so if you order it and you get the 8.25 U-bolts, it ain't gonna work. You gotta do it again. Just saying. Now, Zone probably could send those to you and then you return those back, but ultimately, order it right the first time. Pay attention. You know? Do it right. Good. The instruction sheet. Keep it, use it, follow it. Before I even do anything, before I even order it, I'm actually looking at the instruction sheet because one, I want to make sure that it's not going to be insanely stupid to build these things. It's going to be stupid, don't get me wrong, but it's not because of this. It's because of ball joints. I don't like them, but they need to be replaced. And again, I'll show you later. Hold your horses. Okay. Coil spring number 1. This is for the 3-inch lift on the front. Your rear on the Cherokee is leaf springs. Your front is coil springs. So these are going to lift up the front. And yes, there's 2 of them. Chill out. And these right here are the nuts for the U-bolts and all of the bushings and sleeves for your leaf springs. It's got it all there, ready to go. So that's pretty much it with the kit. It doesn't look like there's a whole lot, and there really isn't. But it's replacing a lot of the parts that I know were bad on mine. I can look at the rear of my Jeep and I can see that it's sagging. Why? Because the leaf spring's worn out. Right? I can drive down the road and I can hit a little pothole on that passenger side rear, and it goes for a second. Well, what would that mean? Shock's worn out. So I had to replace the shocks, and I know that the leaf springs are worn out. So let's start building a kit. And I'll be honest, I over-research things like nobody's business to make sure that I'm doing the right thing. And I'll research it longer than I should, when I should just get it. Well, in my research, I was planning originally to do what we call an upcountry lift. I do believe I talked about that in one of my other videos. The upcountry lift is a lift that was provided by Jeep as a package. That was a 1 to 1.5 inch lift over stock. Oh, cool. Gives me a little bit of a lift. It's basically a stock ride. Bingo bango, done. Well, after pricing everything out, shocks, coils, leaf springs, all of the bolts, all of the bushings, because none of them came with bushings. None of them. After everything was all said and done, I was looking at spending over $600 for that kit. Again, putting pieces together, using Quadratech and using Rock Auto for all of my parts. Rock Auto is a great site for getting cheap parts that you can get quality, but there's a lot of cheap stuff. But you also got to pay for shipping. Well, when all of a sudden you add in shipping to that, that price raises up. Quadratech, if you order anything over $100, they're going to pay for your shipping. Oh, fantastic. But their parts are a little bit more of a premium price. Not so much for like the bushings and things like that. They were actually better than everywhere else. But for the main parts, the coils for the heavy duty 1-inch lift, those dudes were expensive. I don't even remember how much they were because it just kind of took me aback. On Rock Auto, they were a lot less, and it's the Moog brand, and you know Moog makes pretty good suspension parts, so it was going to be quality. Well, I found this, and I decided, hey, let's look at it. Let's see if it's quality. I did a lot of research. Everybody that had used it said it's good quality. It rides pretty good. It does have a little bit of a rough ride at first, but it breaks in and it smooths out. Everybody talked about the Fox shocks. You know, Fox is a well-known brand. They've been around for a long time, and they do a good job. But the problem was cost. I needed to be cheaper, so I started looking into it, and everybody that said, oh, you know, off-road wise, the nitro shocks are not that great, but on-road, they're fine. Well, that's what I needed. This kit was right at $520. Sorry, no, 540 bucks shipped for me. It's cheaper, and it's a 3-inch lift. The Cherokees look great with a 3-inch lift. So that's what I decided to do. So now that you've seen the lift kit, we're gonna go through real quick and show you the things to prepare your vehicle for application of that lift. There's a couple things you gotta do. You gotta make sure everything looks good, everything's doing right. Otherwise, you're gonna create yourself a lot of headache when you're actually doing the work. And this job, they say it takes about 5 hours. First, you lift up the rear, you take all the bolts out for the shackles, drop them, take the bolts off of the axle, take the whole leaf spring out, put your new bushings in, press them in. I've got a press in there if I need it, but they should go in well because you need to lubricate them. These are the poly bushings, they're not rubber, okay? I'll show you what I mean. These will last a really long time, but if you do not lubricate these, they will squeak like nobody's business. Lube them up. But you remove all the suspension parts, and then you drop it, and then you put the new ones in. You do the same thing on the front. You've got to disconnect your sway bars so that it'll drop down enough, and then you can put your foot on that front wheel brakes, essentially. Get a little space, pull that spring out, put your new one in. And if your spring cups look bad, now's the time to replace them. Looking at you, replace broken parts. They're cheap. I'll look at mine and see how they look, but considering the front still functions well, I don't think they're in bad shape. So we'll take a look at them together. But once you get that new spring in there, you put it all back together and you're good to go. After the lift kit, you have to align your wheels. If you don't align your wheels, you're gonna wear through your tires super fast, or you get this wonderful thing called death wobble. And it's called that for a very good reason. It feels like you're gonna die. It's not fun, okay? Solid axle vehicles get death wobble. The wheel just goes usually around 45 to 50 miles an hour, and then you have to stomp on your brakes, get it slowed down, and it stops, calms down. That's typically worn components. I lost my train of thought. Tire balance, bad tire balance. Your alignment is off, or something's broken. And if you keep up with death wobble, something will be broken regardless, okay? It's terrible on your vehicle. So you want to make sure you do things right by getting an alignment afterwards. Now, because of my tires, I might have to get tires too, which I'm not terribly keen on because, again, that costs money. But there's a few things around here that might help with that. A place called Tire Discounters gives you an alignment when you purchase tires. So we'll see what everything looks like. I am going to do a rough alignment. It's not going to be exact. I'll show you how I'm doing it. There's a lot of information on the internet on how to do it, but honestly, I am not the most, what's the word I'm trying to think of? Precise person. I will look at it and I will get it where it needs to be, but I can guarantee you I'm off a little bit just because that's me. It's always how it is. I'm always off just a little bit. So we'll do the rough alignment. That way I can drive it to the location I need to get the tires and or alignment done. Okay? So let's go grab a can of penetrant. Yeah, penetrant. Let's go grab a can of that. We're gonna go over to the Jeep. I'm gonna show you why I'm doing the ball joints. I'm gonna show you what my bump stops don't look like. And I'm gonna show you the main thing we're gonna use that lubricating penetrant for. All right, let's go over there real quick. All right, so here we are beside the Jeep. Now if you look here, and then look here, there's a little difference in height, right? That's because these have sagged out, dropping the rear and leaving the front in good shape. Just imagine what it's like when I put heavy stuff in the back, haul trash to the dump. I am down to absolutely nothing. I have seen this tire stick into this fender. That's not good, okay? You need to have a little bit of a suspension so that you can absorb the shock and bumps and things like that. Otherwise, those bumps just translate to your subframe or unibody in this case. So that's why we're doing it. As you can see, it's quite different. I don't know the numbers yet, but I will measure from the center of the wheel to the top right here on front and back, look at our differences, and then we're going to compare that to after the lift too. Now, when you first install a lift, everything's going to be as tall as it can possibly be. After everything settles, it will drop down some. So who knows, I could have a 4-inch lift right after everything's all said and done, but as you drive it, as you use it, it will settle down and it's not going to be quite so tall. So just be prepared for that. If you get a new lift, you put it on, oh wow, everything's great, we're going to measure it. Dang, I've got a 5-inch lift and I only ordered 4. This is awesome. Don't get your tires yet. It's going to settle. It's going to drop down. And then all of a sudden, those big tires that you got, because you can fit them now, won't fit. On most websites, it's going to tell you what tire will fit with this lift. On Zone Off-Road's website, it says a 12.5-inch tire. Nope, that's wrong. A 31-inch tire, 10.5-inch width, will fit as long as you have the correct back spacing on your vehicle. And if I can't remember for sure, but if I remember correctly, it's like a 7-inch back spacing. Maybe. I'll put it on that description down below. I'll put it there, okay? Now, most stock wheels do not have the back spacing that they're talking about. I have stock wheels. These were powder coated. I like them. We're going to stick with them. So my tires that I'm looking at is actually a 30-inch tire, 9.5-inch width, roughly. Depends on what kind of pricing I find. But I am going to go with a bigger tire for sure. Maybe not right offhand or right off the bat. So I might have a little bit of a small tire, but I will get some new tires to go with it. The tires. Let me show you why I am doing the ball joints. Did you see that right there? That is a sign of bad ball joints. What's happening is one of the ball joints is loose. It's causing the tire to move out. I don't know if it's the bottom one or the top one, but one of them is allowing the tire to do this instead of being straight, therefore wearing out my tire. So that's why I think I'm going to have to get new tires, because that's not good. You do that, you lose your traction, you lose your ability to drive the vehicle properly, and it changes the whole alignment. So I'm probably going to have to get new tires at the same time too, which is a big cost. But unfortunately, it's one of those things that'll just keep you safe while you're driving. And tires are very important at keeping you safe. But in all honesty, looking in here, I've got some dry rot. These tires were on the vehicle when I bought it. They were sitting for a little bit before then, so it's probably time to replace them anyway. This is the passenger front. As you can see, it's even wear all the way across. This ball joint's not bad, but if I'm going to replace those, might as well replace this one too. You know what I mean? So there, we talk about those non-existent bump stops. I can't reach my hand in there, but you see that little opening? Maybe I can get in there. That right there, that's where the bump stop is supposed to be. It's not there. In the rear, see that? That is where the axle snubber is supposed to be. It's gone. The plate is still there and the bolts are still there, but it's gone. Now here's the back tire. This one, as you can see, is worn in the middle, but not on the sides, which typically that means that it is underinflated. But also, it can mean that your suspension is worn out too. And this tire looks far worse than that tire because this is the one that's bouncing like crazy. You know what I mean? Good. And as stated, this tire looks better. So, that gives you an idea of that. Now, I looked, and guess what I don't have? I don't have any lubricating penetrant. Now, the one that I like using, and it's the one that I used on my YJ when I was doing all of the work on it, is PB Blaster. It does great. It actually seeps in and loosens the bolt, but you have to have a little patience. You have to have patience with any of them, but you also have to have patience with that one for sure. What I would do is I would spray it down, next day spray it down, next day spray it down, and then put a little heat to it. The heat helps expand and contract the bolt and the bolt threads. That way it loosens up that rust that builds up. You're working on a new vehicle? Done. Easy. You're working on an old vehicle like I have, you're going to run into some problems. So what I would do is I would get that penetrating lubricant, whether it be PB Blaster or I think I've seen some other brands called Rogo. Don't use WD-40. It is great for that minute job right there, but ultimately WD-40 is not meant for that. WD stands for water disbursement, and 40 means it's the 40th variant. That's it. Don't use WD-40 and expect the results on rusty bolts. It might help, but if it's truly rusty, it's not going to break up that rust, and it's not going to get down there to let that bolt loose. It works for certain things, not for what we're about to do here. Okay? So I'm going to show you one of the bolts, and I'm going to show you kind of what we would do. All right? See this? That is the leaf spring shackle. This bolt is the one that I will need to remove. So I would take my penetrating lubricant and spray this down here and here, both sides. And the reason I would do both sides is because you want to make sure that that penetrates all the way through. That stuff will just seep through and create a barrier between the bolt, the nut, and the sleeve for the bushing, because the sleeve has a bushing. No, reverse. The bushing has a sleeve, as you saw when I was showing you over there. You put your bushing in, the sleeve goes in, and that's because the bolt rides against the sleeve. Okay? You have to make sure that you spray it down on both sides so that it seeps through. What's going to happen is that rust is going to penetrate through and actually make that bolt seize to the sleeve. By penetrating it with that lubricant, you're creating a barrier between it, and therefore the bolt comes out. That being said, there are still times that all you can do is cut the bolts. On the YJ, I had to cut all of them. I could not get the bolts out of the sleeves. And with the bolt in the sleeve, I couldn't get it out of the leaf spring. So when I swapped frames and I took the leaf springs and put them on the new frame, I actually had to heat and cut and knock out every single bushing because I couldn't get the sleeve out, and the bushing was stuck in there with the sleeve in there. That was 3 nights of work. Okay? Remember, you're only one bolt away from a bad time. Do the things to prepare for it, and it might not be so bad. The suggested timing, like I said, was 5 hours. It actually says 3 to 5 hours. You know, power tools and lifts make things go faster. I don't have a lift, but I got power tools. I'm probably going to be at the 5-hour mark, not necessarily because of the work, but because of the bolts. I have to get these out. Now, there's one bolt on these Cherokees that is specifically troublesome, and it is the front leaf spring eye bolt. Jeep made a mistake. I'll show you why. Okay.
So you see this bolt? That one goes through the leaf spring and bolts into the frame, okay? These Jeeps are what you call a unibody, meaning the body and the frame are all one solid piece. The nut for that is welded to the inside of here. If you don't spray that down and prepare that bolt, if it lets go on that back side at the nut, you have to cut a hole in the bottom of your frame. There is a hole there, but it's not big enough to do anything with. So you have to cut a hole to get that bolt to go out and to put a new one in, because the nut is captured inside of here. That sounds like a pain, doesn't it? Preparation. One bolt away from a really bad time. So, now that you've seen kind of what we've got to go through, this next video might be a two-part video, because I want to show you guys how to do it. At the same time, I'm also going to be replacing the rear brakes too. I've got a whole new brake set going on. The drums are still in good shape from what I can tell. If they look bad, I guess I'll have to get drums. But as it is right now, we're just going to stick with the drums that are on there. But we're going to replace the shoes, we're going to replace the springs, and make sure that our cable for the parking brake is in good shape too. So, we've got a lot coming. It's probably going to be two parts. Might do the rear, and then do the front. Might do the rear and the front. Do the ball joints separate. Do the brakes separate. I don't know. We'll see how it all turns out. I'm just going to video all of it, and I'll break it up accordingly. So, from here, that's today's video. I will hopefully be back next week. Next week is my daughter's birthday, so I might be too busy. But we're going to have some time doing some videos, getting some content out there for you guys so you can learn how to do this stuff at home. Okay? Now remember, I am not a professional. I do this for fun as a hobby. Don't know why yet I do it for fun, but I do. So, take what I say with a grain of salt. You can learn some things from me, but don't look to me as a professional for it. The only thing I know is what I've done. So get yourself out there, learn a few things, and do it yourself. You might find that you're more capable than you think. Later, taters.
Make sure to like and subscribe.